Students, today we are going to study the fourth chapter in OCM, that is business services. In the business service, the first topic is features of business service. So let us start with the topic. From this picture, you are able to understand banking, communication, insurance, and also communication. So these are some examples are given in the picture about business services. But in the fourth chapter, you will study about banking, insurance, transport, warehousing, and communication. You know very well, without business service, no business activity can be performed. Only with the help of business service, the business is growing. The success of the business depends upon the business services. So let us see what you mean by service. Services are intangible in nature. You take example of a commodity or a product. You are able to see the product. You are able to touch the product. But services are not like that. We cannot see, we cannot touch. But only when we are enjoying the service, when you are receiving the service, we are getting a pleasant feeling. That is called as what? Business service. It is termed as intangible nature. Goodwill, you know, goodwill is an asset of a business concern. Goodwill is called as an intangible asset. That means it is a reputation. Reputation you cannot touch and see. Only you can feel. So like that only services are called as intangible. Like a commodity, service cannot be manufactured in industry, or it cannot be transported from one place to other place, or it cannot be stored for a long period of time if there is no demand. So in short, business services are those services which helps in successful running of the business. I given some examples here. Banking is providing lot of service to the businessman in the form of finance. And you know, every business concern is involved in lot of risk. Risk is common in the business. Businessman, if he want to reduce the risk, one option is there, he can take an insurance. So insurance company is giving compensation to the businessman whenever loss occurs. So this is one type of service provided by the insurance corporation. Transport. Without transportation, they cannot transport the men or material from one place to other places. If they want to bring raw material also, they need the help of transportation. Like that, warehousing. In case in a company, in a factory, they produce large quantity of material, but suddenly the demand for the product decreases. They want to preserve the produced product in a better condition. So here one service provider is there, that is called as warehousing, storage. It is protecting the article. And the last one is communication. Communication also plays an important role for performing various functions in business. Communication is nothing but passing information from one person to another person. If a company wants to order for a machine or order for raw material, with the help of some mode of communication, they can transmit the information from one place to other place or from one person to another person. Now let us see the definition of business services. Philip Kotler has given a definition. A service is an act of performance. He is stating service means what? It is an act of performance. Somebody is performing something. It is not relating to commodity. If I am teaching, you are able to understand. That is called as what? This is also one type of service. You are able to see me, but you are not able to see the service. When you are understanding, you are feeling, I got a good service. So, service is called as a performance that one party can offer to another. Who is giving the service? That party is called a service provider. He is giving the service to other person. That person is called as what? Service receiver. Doctor is treating a patient. Doctor is called as service provider and patient is called as service receiver. That is essentially intangible. So service we are stating as what? Intangible, because we cannot see or we cannot touch. Only we can feel when we are getting a good service. And does not result in the ownership of anything. So one patient is going to meet the doctor by paying the fees. He cannot take the ownership of the service, full ownership. Only for the time being he can get a service from the person. Okay? Its production may or may not be tied to a physical product. Sometimes you are able to see the service together with what? The product. When you are going to the restaurant, when they are serving food, with the food you are able to see one person is serving. You are able to find the service with the product. But sometimes you cannot find the service with the product. Okay? So this is the meaning of the definition. Let us see the features of business service. The first one, intangibility. That only we studied in the meaning. Services are intangible in nature. They are neither seen or not touched. You take example, you are buying a soap, Lux soap you are buying. You are able to smell the soap and you are able to see the soap and you are able to touch that. But service, it is not a commodity to see or to touch. Only we can feel. Only we can feel the effect. Doctor is giving treatment. So when you are getting cure, you are feeling, yes, I am feeling better now. So we cannot able to see the service. That is why it is called as intangibility. And the second one, inseparability. Inseparability is related with the service and service provider cannot be separated. If one person is giving a service means what? The presence of service provider is must. In the absence of service provider, the receiver cannot get the service. So doctor's presence is must for the patient. Okay? That's why we can say in service where production is happening, the same time only consumption is also arising. But in commodity it is not like that. They may be producing the product in the month of Jan, but the rainy articles which are produced in the month of Jan, the demand is arising when? In the month of June and July. So up to that period of time they can store it. Understand? So consumption is arising in the month of June and production is happening in the month of Jan. But service is not like that. Where production, where consumption. Simultaneously it is happening. And next one is inconsistency. It is otherwise called as heterogeneous. One person is providing the service, the same person is providing the service to various people. But the service quality may differ from person to person. Person to person. Service provider will remain the same. But what quality of service, it may differ from person to person or we can say time to time. For example, you are visiting a bank. Bank employee is providing service. Sometimes the bank employee will be behaving very well with some people. For example, he may be a businessman. But as poor vendor is visiting the bank, what type of treatment a bank employee is given to the businessman, the same treatment he may not be giving to whom? The poor vendor. So the same person is providing service, it is differing from person to person. Understand? Like that only. Restaurant you take, day before yesterday you went to that same restaurant, you had same food, today also you are going for eating lunch, but same food you ordered, the same restaurant only. But what taste you experienced day before yesterday, the same taste you are not experiencing now. So quality is differing or not, service is differing or not. So that is called as what? Inconsistency, heterogeneous, opposite of homogeneity. And the next is called as perishability. I told If the goods are produced in large quantity, if there is no demand, then consumption is coming in the future, demand is going to happen in the future, up to that period they can store. But here, once the person, the service provider, he was not able to provide the service, then that is lost. That is lost. For example, in a theater, you book a ticket for what? Watching a movie, in a morning show. But you book the ticket. But due to some circumstance, you are not able to go to the theater. You cannot go and claim, that is, I booked the ticket, second show I want to go like that. What service for which you paid, you are not went means what? You cannot claim that service again in future period of time. That is what is called as what? Perishability. One more example I can give. In a factory, the workers conducted strike in a day. Yesterday they conducted the strike. Today they are rejoining. What service yesterday they have to provide to the factory, the same, that service will they able to give today? Is it possible to give the service, 2-day service together? Not possible. That is what is called as services are perishable in nature. Services are what? Perishable in nature. And next is called as non-transparability. Services are non-transferable. Doctor, he cannot transfer his ownership to whom? To the patient. Only he can provide the service. Here we can give one example. You are booking a hotel room to stay for 2 days. So how many days you are going to stay in the hotel room? For that you paid. By paying that money, will he able to take that ownership of the hotel? Not possible. The ownership cannot be transferred in case of service. But in case of commodity, by paying the money, if you are buying a pen, by paying 10 rupees, you can take the ownership and possession. But in service, it is not possible. It cannot be transferred from the service provider. And the last one is consumer participation. If you want to avail the service, if you want to get the service, your presence is very, very important. How the service provider presence is very important. Like that only, service receiver's presence also very important. If college is arranging 1-day picnic, you paid for that. But if you want to enjoy that, you have to travel in the bus. Your presence is very, very important. That is called as what? Consumer participation. Okay.